Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video. I'm so glad that you're here and that we're going to have a talk about mental health and in particular my anxiety attacks and what I did about it to make them stop. Because yes, that's the first update of this video. My panic attacks have stopped. And it's been a whole process. It's been a lot of ups and downs and I'm still struggling with a lot of things, but I do feel much better. And today I'm going to give you an update on the how and why and what and when, etc. and how I'm dealing with mental health issues. Now, I'll be honest, I wasn't jumping for this video. I wasn't that excited about it because this is also a part of the process for me, being able to talk about it openly on my social media, because I always involve you guys in almost everything. So this was also one of those topics that I did wanted to bring up, because talking about mental health should be normalized, and I think that I can be a good example in that. So without further ado, let's just jump into the video and answer some of your questions. Let's just start with the most obvious one from Ilse. When and how did you know that you were going to find help? I think that was after I had my third anxiety attack or second or something, because I always want to be a very independent person, and for me, when I did not control that part of my life, I couldn't do anything about it, and I felt so lost. It was totally out of my control when I did have a panic attack, and that was it for me. I was like, no, we're not going to do this. I need to get some help from someone, a professional who knows what he or she is talking about, and I cannot do this on my own. So that is the exact moment when I thought, let's take some action. Then a question from Carmen. Where can you get help for mental health? And how does this process work? Well, I think it is very different in every country, to be honest. I live in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. I can only speak for that part of the world, but here we have to go to a regular doctor, where you go to when you have a very severe cold or something, or when you broke your toe or whatever. That person will evaluate how your mental state is, etc. And it will give you a little note, which means that you can go through to a specialist. Now, in the Netherlands, most of the time it is covered by insurance, but that waiting list has been going up until 8 months. So that was like astonishing to me, because at the moment you need help, you do not want to wait another 8 months, sometimes up to a year, before you can get any help here in this country, and for it to be covered by the insurance. So what I did was that I paid the full therapy sessions myself, found someone else who is a specialist too, but doesn't fit in the general system of the insurance companies, etc. Which is also, in my opinion, most of the time a better form of therapy, because at least here in the Netherlands, the ones that you go through insurance and through your normal doctor are usually the ones that are just like, okay, how are you feeling? I've already done that once and I was like, okay, is this like the usual conversation you have with everyone, or what are we gonna do? Like, this is not up to speed. I want to have something more concrete. I'm not just here to tell my story and that's it, I'm leaving. So that is why I didn't choose for the normal way of getting therapy, but taking control in my own hands and picking my own therapist and paying it for myself. Then from Air Force James, when you first talk to the therapist, how does it start? You just start explaining? That's actually a pretty good question, especially for people who haven't ever been to therapy. Basically, you have an appointment. You go there. You're most of the time very nervous because you have no idea who that person is or what you can expect. And the questions are always loaded with emotions, right? I mean, it's not that you're going there to have a little tea party with the therapist. It is something that you really want to actively work on, and you have a problem, what you need to explain for the first time to a stranger. So how it goes, you greet each other, you sit down. Normally I have a very normal conversation with my therapist first, like, how was your weekend? What did you do this week? How do you feel? And then up to a certain point, the first time at least, he just asked me like, okay, Nochtli, you're here. Thank you so much for coming. But what can I help you with? And he didn't say like, what is your problem or how do you feel? And that is what I really noticed that annoyed me with other kind of therapies and therapists. That is the first thing they ask. Instead of just asking a more open question like, what can I help you with? Which to me sounds a lot more positive. So I was really happy he did that. And then you just casually keep on talking and explain what is happening to you. And if he or she doesn't hear enough, like, how do you say that, like emotion in your story, they will definitely ask. So when you don't want to tell something, most of the time they notice and they will be like, okay, good, thank you for telling your story, but I do notice that or they just pick out a few details of your story and continue on that. That is what therapists are for, and you should never be ashamed to tell a very traumatizing story or just a normal story or whatever you want help with. It's just okay to ask for help, and the therapy sessions are always confident, so they will never tell your story to someone else, so you never have to worry about that. Then the next question is from Emma. How often did you talk about this in your environment, and how did they support you in this process? Well, with me it was a little bit different than with people who are not continuously on social media, because the first time I spoke to my therapist, that was a really firm decision for myself, and only my boyfriend knew about that and my best friend, so that's it. But immediately I made a video after that therapy session opening up to you guys. I'll like put the link here, so I could really start building what I wanted to change. And for me, that was also a thing to open up to you guys, so I don't have to be all happy dandy all the time on social media and everyone knows. And when I put that video online, I suddenly realized, because you know, social media is my job, so it's like a continuous thing of like, okay, what can I make, and I think this is important for people to see or not, etc. And I didn't think about the fact that the people around me would also see that video and be like, huh, you didn't tell us anything. So by really starting the whole healing process, I needed to inform everyone around me, because they cannot smell it from afar that something is up, right? And without that video, probably no one would have known if I wouldn't have told them. So I just apped people. I mean, how do you keep in contact nowadays? You app people, you call people. The mother of Jeremy, I talked to her in person, and I just app people like, yo man, I really feel down lately. I'm having anxiety attacks, and I know that you didn't know this, but I just want you to know that I'm going to therapy, and before you see that video, I wanted you to hear that from me personally, instead of having to see that on YouTube first, you know, because that's just strange. And the thing is that the moment that when you involve people so much into something so personal, most of the time they just get closer to you. That's what I noticed, at least, from all the people that I hang out with. It's not that I informed like my whole contact list on my phone or something. They were literally like, I think 4 to 5 people that I see on a regular basis and such. But I do think that to maintain a good relationship with friends and family, you have to put in some work. So if you feel bad, don't be afraid to involve them in that, because that makes them feel special. They feel that they have a place in your life, and they will probably return the favor by being there for you whenever you need something. So I told everyone that, and every once in a while, like in a few weeks or something, people would ask me back or call me or just come by like, hey Nels, how are you doing? How's therapy going, etc. It was just really uplifting for myself to have the knowledge that everyone knew. I told all my friends and family, of course, all the people that were really close to me, so I didn't have to go through that again while going for therapy. Social media knew it, Gymshark knew it, my protein knew it, like all the people that I work with and stuff, and that was really such a relief. I was like, oh my god, I can breathe. Like, I don't have to keep up this act for people and act like, oh yeah, everything is fine, I'm cool, I'll just go with the flow. Like, I was so done with that. And that's when I could really start working on everything. That was like the biggest thing ever. A question from Lieve. What do you feel physically when you are experiencing anxiety? Well, anxiety in general, I always get like very itchy or something, like there are a million bugs under my skin and I'm just, my heart rate goes up. And when I'm having an anxiety attack, that goes a little bit further, because then I also have that feeling and I start to overthink everything that I've done that day or that I still need to do and I didn't do because I was procrastinating or whatever. My heart rate goes up because I literally feel my chest like pounding, pounding, pounding. And what I really notice with me is that my throat is like someone is just pushing it like that. There's a lot of pressure on it and I'm getting really warm. Everything is just being speed up in my body, I think. So your heart rate goes up, the breathing goes up. That's also a big thing. And I just cannot stop the crying from coming. So then I have the anxiety attack and you're just really like breathing like that. You're crying. You're trying to like hold your breath and stuff to be able to breathe better, but it just doesn't work. So there's a lot of stuff happening when you actually have an anxiety attack, and most of the time you cannot do anything about it. That's sometimes the annoying part of some people, that they think of, oh, but you can just stop it, right? Just do something else and it will be fine. But it's not. So that's what it looks like. A question from Angela. What helps you to relax when you feel a panic attack is going to happen or when feeling anxious? Well, nothing at that moment helps me to relax, but I can reduce the intensity of the panic attack and the longevity of the panic attack by literally standing up from my place. It doesn't matter where I am in the house or whatever, and going out. Just go out the door, go into another room, maybe go 2 levels up in the house, stand outside, take a deep breath. Because the moment I stay in that situation where I'm at and in that energy at the moment of the panic attack, it will only become worse and I cannot do anything about it. So I do notice that that helps a lot for me personally. Of course, it's different for everyone, but changing environments the moment you have a panic attack is great. Then the next question from Soes, I think. She's asking, do you use medication for your ADHD? And if so, which one and how does it make you feel? Well, my ADHD doesn't have anything to do with the mental health part, anxiety thing that we're talking about. I'm more than glad to just answer that question. Since like a year or something, I know that I have ADHD. And in the beginning, I tried 2 different forms of medication for like 4 weeks. 2 weeks one and 2 weeks the other one. And both of them were terrible to me. From one of them, I got very dizzy and very anxious, even more than I already was. So that was like literally a no-go for me. And the other one gave me very severe headaches. It was so weird, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I will deal with my ADHD in a different way. I'm stopping, so I don't take any medication at all. Never have done, just tested it. Then from my own boo-boo, Jeremy, he also sent in a question. He's asking, are you happy with the progress you make, or is it difficult to be happy until you're fully healthy? I think it really depends on the kind of person you are. Like for me, I have a lot of trouble with being satisfied at something that I accomplished, or appreciating the progress I've made in something. And I definitely have that too with therapy. I can be happy about the fact that the anxiety attacks have stopped after like 3-4 sessions or something. It was really not that much. But the only thing I can think about sometimes is like, oh my God, like, I've done that, but there's so much things that I still need to do, and I need to do this, I need to do that, and I'm not there yet, etc. So I am sometimes happy with the progress I make, but I'm not fully satisfied yet, even though I could be, but it's just not in my nature. And I do really know that that is also something that I should work on, and I am. But yeah, it's tough because I'm also a perfectionist, so Yeah. Then the next question is from a username I cannot pronounce, but he or she is asking how to comfort a friend who's going through mental stress and isn't willing to listen to any advice. First of all, it's really sweet of you that you of course want to support that person, but by really pushing it that they need help, etc., you're only reversing the outcome that you really want. So for instance, if someone would really push me into therapy and keep repeating the same advice over and over, I would get almost rebellious, like, no, oh hell no, I don't need that therapy, then just leave me alone, etc. So I do really understand that you want to like keep giving advice and such, but if you notice that that person isn't reacting well to it, maybe try to give your support in another way. So not by giving advice and saying you need to go to therapy. No, just by doing little things like, yo, shall we go to the beach today? Just go for a long walk. Take them out to dinner, maybe do something else they like, by just being there for them. And eventually they will open up to you, but it can take a long time for that person to want to open up and to be able to open up, because that's not something that you can just do like that. It takes time, and with everyone it's different. So just keep being the good friend you are, but try to change your ways a little. Then from Esra, she's asking Jeremy's part/opinion in this situation. Well, of course you guys don't know Jeremy personally, but if there is one person who is always supportive, who is always helping me with anything that I need, doesn't matter what it is him. We've been in a relationship for almost 11 years now, so we know each other through and through. And he also knows when I don't want to say something. So in the first period that I had the anxiety attacks and I was like really feeling anxious all day and alone, and even though there were people around me, he noticed and he said like, Nos, there's something you're not telling me. What is going on with you? And I was like, what? And then stubborn me, the first thing I say is like, no, I'm fine, let it be, blah, blah. And 5 minutes later, he's like, Nos, what's going on with you? And at a certain point, I just start crying because I do want to tell him, and he knows exactly where to hit those points of the emotional part that triggers me to actually tell my story, which is a good thing. If I haven't had open up to him, I will probably not even go to therapy. It really starts, I think, with informing your partner and actually acknowledging that you have a problem, you know? So yeah, he's always been super supportive. He does everything he can for me, and he was totally for therapy. He was like, give it a try. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but at least you tried then. Then a question from Max. Have you thought about what you want to do when you reach your mental well-being goals? Well, first of all, I don't want to call them goals because I'm really a perfectionist. So whenever I put the stamp on something like I have to get this done, especially with mental health, by that time, etc., it just doesn't work for me because I start overthinking, I get more anxious, etc. So I put too much pressure on myself. So with mental health stuff, I don't want to call it goals. I just want to call it progression. I want to call it growing, etc. But I do know what you mean, and if I feel 100% well again, I don't know if I ever will, but then I really want to start working on new projects, you know, like 2020 for me, and I think for everyone, has been a year that has been really, really tough. I mean, COVID hit, there was the Black Lives Matter protests and everything in almost every country. There was a lot of political pressure on everyone, and that really works your mental health in a way. And then I have my own shit at home, so the anxiety attacks, etc. And basically I stopped living. My projects that I always did with YouTube and stuff, and also the social media, our own brand and everything, literally stopped because I wasn't able to do anything with it. And that's such a shame. So when I do feel like a lot better, I want to try new things. I want to bring out things that I really feel like the people need, regarding fitness, regarding well-being, etc. And yeah, I just basically stopped doing anything. which is fine because in the end it was really necessary. But yeah, I really just want to start living again, live life. You know, that's really one of the most important things ever. Now, as an end to this video, I want to like make a little bit of a summary of also the things that I didn't tell you yet and all the things that we discussed. The anxiety attacks that I had have stopped after 3 or 4 sessions of therapy, and the specific form of therapy that I did called voice dialogue. It's basically that you go into your subconscious and you talk to the different emotions that are inside you, and you name them, you make it a person so you can actually have a conversation with that part of yourself. I know it sounds really strange. That was the same thing I thought the first time I was introduced to that, but it helped me immensely. I didn't even like thought that could happen because I just didn't really know what it was and etc. But voice dialogue has really changed my life. Now, then the second thing I wanted to name is that if you ever need help regarding any mental health issue, it doesn't have to be panic attacks, it doesn't have to be super severe. Any form of mental health issues is worth working on, is worth opening up about. And you can start by your environment, but of course, if you don't have that, you can go to your doctor and just ask what you can do and what they can do for you. It all starts with taking some form of action that you think is necessary to be able to grow and learn about your own mental state. So please don't be afraid about that. Talk to someone. It doesn't matter who it is, as long as it works for you. Now, there are definitely still a few issues for myself that I need to work on. Like, for instance, I'm a huge perfectionist. That's just freaking annoying to myself and the people around me sometimes. So still working on that. And besides that, what I really notice is that the longer period of time that I am in the social media business, the more I overthink everything that I want to do, instead of just going with the flow, doing my thing and actually just enjoying it. So those two things are definitely something that still needs polishing and work and everything, and that is more than fine. But besides that, I'm feeling very happy and relieved that the panic attacks have stopped, or let's say that I made them stop, because it's always your own work that you're doing inside of yourself. And yeah, it's something I can be proud of, and something that I do really appreciate about myself. So, you know, a little bit of self-love here and there goes a long way. So this was the video. I do hope that it was really helpful to you about me just openly talking about mental health in general. I think it can be really refreshing sometimes, especially in the social media world. And yeah, like I said, if you're ever afraid to ask for help, know that everyone is human. Doesn't matter if they're famous or not, or your neighbor, or maybe a family member, they will all have something up their sleeves which they need to work on, and that is completely normal because we're humans, and that is what being human is, you know. So don't be afraid to call out for help, maybe take a step back, because in the end it's all about your growth and your well-being. So for now, thank you so much for watching. I'll be going to take some dinner because it's already like getting dark outside, and do a little thumbs up, and then I'll see you girls and guys in the next video.